Well, anyhow, this is a book called Thomas Merton, My Brother, which is written by Basil Pennington, who was a major proponent of contemplative centering prayer, it was called. In fact, he wrote a book called Centering Prayer and
Right.
sold over 1 million copies. And he was talking about that at their monastery they did a retreat. And he said, I do not think such an event could have taken place if Merton had not courageously shown us the way to open to the east. Hence this picture. And over here he says, Merton did come to South Asia, India as a pilgrim, not as an evangelist, but as a pilgrim to the origins of other great spiritual traditions expressed in Shiva, that's Hinduism,
Right.
and Buddha, which of course is Buddhism. Well, let me ask you, John, what treasures would Hindu, Buddhist, and Muslim religion have for the spiritual life of a Christian? Could you answer that?
Well, they would say, I mean, I know what their answer would be in terms of the fact that most religions are alike, and therefore there are certain spiritual values of each religion which...
Well, we're not talking about virtues, though. We're not talking about things like kindness. We're talking about what he meant was spiritual perceptions. Right. Like he said, our souls are the... Nouwen said, Nguyen would say, our souls are those sacred centers where all is one. And prayer is where we can come to the realization of the unity of all that is.
Right, but that's Eastern mysticism with Christian sounding stuff on top of it.
Yeah, probably from my perspective, the most intriguing representative of this type of spirituality would be a woman named Sue Monk Kidd. She's probably the poster girl for why we're doing this DVD here. She was a Southern Baptist Sunday school teacher in a small town in South Carolina. She was just a typical normal Christian, a wife, a mother, nothing eccentric about her, nothing offbeat.
Is there anything such as a normal Christian? That's
yes. Right. So somebody handed her a book by Thomas Merton in her Sunday school class. And she started to get into contemplative prayer, and this is what she wrote. This is a book she did called God's Joyful Surprise. This came out probably in the late 80s, and she talked about it was the books I was continuing to discover that introduced me to the kind of prayer I was looking for. And she talked about ways of being with God and practices that opened the door to oneness with Him. And she said they called it contemplation. And she said how she was amazed that she didn't know anything about this ancient and powerful tradition in Christian history.
Right.
And she says, I was ready. And in this book, she talks about how she actually used mantras. There's a number of words she used. She would repeat over and over again, and she would go into the alpha state or the thoughtless state. Well, this book was endorsed by, it's defunct now, but there used to be a magazine called Virtue. Do you remember that?
Mm-hmm, I do. And
this was Virtue magazine's best book of the year. Okay, it was also endorsed by Today's Christian Woman, who said that the message and challenge of the book is profound. If you ever wondered if your spiritual life needed some deepening, this book will awaken your longing and set you off on your own spiritual journey. Okay, Today's Christian Woman. Okay, this one suggests some disciplines for cultivating an interior quietness and a richer personal experience of God's love. That's Moody Monthly. So this book was endorsed by all the heavy hitters in the mainstream evangelical media. Well, that was the late 80s. In the mid-90s, Sue Monk Kidd came out with her third book called The Dance of the Dissident Daughter. And the subtitle is A Woman's Journey from Christian Tradition, that's conservative evangelical Christianity, to the Sacred Feminine. Now she worships the goddess Sophia.
Yeah. Sophia being the goddess wisdom.
Yes.
Right.
And now she says that, quotes Teilhard de Chardin, you're familiar with him.
Right,
and his
Jesuit priest.
God in Everything view, and she says that, this mystical awakening and all the great religious traditions, in Zen it's known as Samadhi, and the divine is one. And she says, for those who go deep into spiritual practice, that's contemplative prayer, at some moment the veil slips away and you see what is. And everything that is has a spiritual essence. Goddess offers us the holiness of everything. The holiness of everything. Well, if everything, that means Satan is holy, right? There's the golden calf was holy. Right. You know, all these pagan religions that one finds in the Old Testament were holy.
Right. It resembles a lot Jean-Paul Sartre and self-actualization that came out of psychology. Well, theoretically, Adolf Hitler was self-actualized, so he was fulfilled. You know?
You know, all these Moody Monthly was endorsing this book, saying that, you know, this woman really has the answer to your spiritual dryness. Today's Christian Woman, Virtue Magazine. And she discovered this contemplative tradition. Well, where it led her was the sacred feminine, you know, the goddess. And there's a section in here where she's in her Baptist church, during Southern Baptist church, during this transition, and the pastor's holding up the Bible saying, this is our sole and ultimate authority. And she gets this sensation of something rippling within her, and it's just spreading out. And she says she never had such a profound feeling as what she was going through, and this voice kept saying, no, 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 no. My final and ultimate authority is the divine voice in my own soul, period.
Why is all of this important? I mean, why should Christians be concerned? Try to drag that together for people.
You know, from what I've been able to discover about this movement, people that do it do not go in a conservative route. They go toward an interspiritual route. They don't go in the right direction.
In other words, it doesn't lead them to the Scripture.
No, it doesn't lead them to being evangelists for Jesus Christ. It leads them to embrace other religions.
All right. Any closing thoughts?
Yes, that's basically it. That you know, I believe that we're seeing Bible prophecy unfold, and that people need to wake up and they need to decide what camp they're going to be in. Matthew 24, Jesus says, "Many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ, and you'll receive many." That word "and many" there in the Greek is paulus, which means a sore number. And now we're seeing on Oprah Winfrey with Eckhart Tolle and people like that, that if you have the Christ consciousness, which is being one with your higher self, that makes you a Christ. That Jesus was a model for Christ consciousness. 28 million people downloaded the thing that Oprah and Eckhart Tolle did on the internet. 28 million downloaded it. So we're talking about a mass movement. And in that 10-week series, you know, the gist of it was that Jesus modeled the Christ consciousness, and now we need to get the Christ consciousness also, which would make us a Christ just like him. Right. And that's what Jesus warned of. Many shall come in my name, saying, I am Christ, and shall deceive many. Paulus, which means a sore number, like millions and millions and millions.